Chris Kline is here. There he is. Bitcoin IRA. He is our COO and co-founder. Chris, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Spencer. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for coming on today. I'm going to pull up your presentation right now. We were talking a little bit yesterday about crypto IRAs with one of your competitors, and it's such an important topic. We thought let's do it both days. So yeah, let's go. We're talking about long-term for everyone that hodls. If you really are a hodler, then this is for you. Literally, this is the definition of hodl right here. Retirement accounts. Chris, I'm going to hop off. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Spencer. And even further than hodlers, it's about the believers. If you believe Bitcoin is going to continue to grow in value, there's no better place to have it than in a retirement setting. And that's strictly just because of the infrastructure and the design of retirements are meant to build up an overall retirement strategy for us and find those tax advantages that we need to save for our future. So thank you again, Spencer, and the Benzinga family and the Crypto Virtual Conference here, the festival, for having me today. I wanted to just go through, I get asked a lot of questions. We've been through almost 6 years now of crypto IRAs, which is crazy to think about. When we first started this, they say if a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody to hear it, does it make a sound? Long time ago when we built the first crypto IRA, a lot has changed since then. I wanted to share some of what we've learned and seen over the years with the audience today, and then hopefully open up to more even wonderful questions from you folks today. So a little bit about me. Oh, wow. The old marketing team used an old picture. I don't know if the hair was better back then or not. Also, you guys will see here on the right-hand side, bottom right-hand corner, a QR code. If you scan that at any time throughout the presentation, it's going to take you straight to downloading the world's first crypto mobile application. It's custom built for education, price monitoring, and then also ultimately to open up your own Bitcoin or crypto IRA account. But as for me, I hail from the Midwest, or I guess the West. I'm from Denver, Colorado, born and raised on the hard streets of Aurora, Colorado. I am the co-founder and COO of Bitcoin IRA. We first designed and built this back in 2015 and put our first account together in 2016. I studied international finance and leadership back in the college days at the University of Colorado Boulder. I remember distinctively one of my classes was all about making enough money in Forex trading and you could leave class. I maybe spent 15 minutes max in that class every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Since then, I've been contributing to Forbes Finance Council, the FX Empire. We're pretty much commentating all the time here at Benzinga. I've been at a few interviews with the audience here and was just recently on Power Lunch. That was a tough one. The bank regulated or bank bought CNBC certainly had some tough zingers for me and multi-part questions. So just got to throw out what are the things that make us Bitcoin IRA. So surprisingly enough, not a lot of folks know that you can do this. Even if you're a crypto person or if you're a retirement person, the fact that you can put the two together in a world is actually commonly unknown so far. We were the first, as I said earlier, in 2016, we did our first account in June. Our first account holder was actually the former director of the United States Mint, Edmund C. Moy. So I always find that somewhat ironic that the individual building managing the greatest production of fiat money, the US dollar, was also grabbing a little bit of Bitcoin and Ethereum for his retirement account after his retirement or after he finished as a Mint director. We've grown to 100,000 platform users. We just hit that mark earlier this year. We also just broke $2 billion of assets inside of our platform and inside of our custodian. Our growth as a platform is 1,000% year over year, and that was in Q2. I would say that we're probably getting closer to about 15,000% year over year growth. And we're pretty much everywhere. As you can see behind me, these are like, those time capsules you want to bring with you when you get to your age of retirement. We were featured in Forbes as well as in the Wall Street Journal. And pretty much anywhere and everywhere in between. If you search us and look at the news, you'll see that we've been around for a long time. So a lot of times, folks, the first question I get when I talk to folks is they're like, how did you guys think this up? How did this even start? Where did it manifest itself? It really started with going and finding and forging the correct partnerships that were critical to make this happen. You have to have a trustee or a bank to have an IRA. So that was check number one. You also have to have an exchange or an OTC partner. And then most importantly, you have to have somewhere safe to keep these coins and these digital assets. We were able to interact with regulators. I remember going back and forth for almost 6-7 months in 2015, trying to build parallels of comparing it to how precious metals work, how other assets work. You got to remember, this was 6 years ago, back before a lot of people were even talking about Bitcoin, and you could get laughed out the room, especially with regulators at this point in time. What we found from our clients was the most critical piece that they continued to survey when we asked them what would be the most important, or what is the most important part of your retirement savings, was security when talking about crypto. Makes sense, right? A lot of people don't understand, especially 5 years ago, how wallets work, how keys work, how all the functions of a crypto investment or holding works. So it became a primary focus for us in building our platform. Those surveys drove us to partner with BitGo, pretty well-known name. I call them kind of the Goldman Sachs or the Brinks of the industry. We joined with them early on and tied them in as an exclusive provider for our platform. We built a completely custom cold storage configuration of the likes that had never been seen before back in 2015, in order to make it so that the banking partners, the OTC partners, and the wallet partners all understood how this function and platform were going to work. Now, obviously, they've grown just like we have. We have up to $700 million of custody insurance, the highest in the market today available for those looking for security. And they're processing $30 billion of monthly transactions. So as the world leader, we love having them on our platform and being our exclusive partner for the security of your retirement, which is foremost and fundamental. As we grew past our meager beginnings in 2015 and 16, we had almost a responsibility to set an industry standard. Back, if you joined us, which a lot of the clients that started in 16 bought at the levels of like $250 of Bitcoin, some 500, so they're looking at 10,000x returns. They were our guiding light of what should we do next. So as we moved into the years of 2017 and beyond and into the crypto winter, we made a primary focus to always be the industry leading crypto IRA platform. We kind of have a buzzword about being the world's first for everything. We were the world's first Bitcoin IRA. We wanted to be the world's first 24/7 trading. When we first started, we had a very manual process of executing trades because, again, it had never been done before. Now you can log in or download the app and go on your phone and access your account and buy, sell, swap at any time, 24/7, even on Christmas, even on Jesus' birthday, whenever you'd like to. Then we continued to grow from there. We built, just this year, we launched the first interest earning program. It's called IRA Earn. Clients can earn up to 6% interest on their retirement account. So as Spencer was saying, if you are a hodler, why not hodl and make some more crypto with your crypto? Those interest payments are paid back in kind. So if you have Bitcoin, you're making interest in Bitcoin, or Ethereum in Ethereum. Just on Father's Day this year as well, we launched the world's first custom mobile IRA application for crypto IRAs. It's available both on the Android and on the Apple Store. And then this year, we're completing the end-to-end fully integrated platform process. There are a lot of other groups that have looked at building a similar platform, but we brought it end-to-end with a vertical integration of our own trust company, which came to market approved about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we just haven't stopped growing, evolving, innovating, and we're not going to stop anytime soon. There are so many amazing things happening in the crypto industry that should be a part of the retirement industry, and we feel we have an obligation to be the pioneers of such. I've already mentioned the $700 million of insurance keeps you safe behind military-grade wallet security. But most importantly, and you'll see on every slide, there's a phone number you can call. And you can call it right now, and there are people that will answer because we have a standard of 90 seconds or less. You know how pizza places have the 30 minutes or it's free? We have the 90 seconds or less service level standard. That means that if somebody, whether it's a quiet day, a high velocity trading day, a day when Elon Musk decides to tweet something about Bitcoin, if you're not on the phone with one of our agents in 90 seconds or less, then we failed our service level. And we hold ourselves to that very high standard because unlike most of the crypto space, there's not a lot of folks where you can go and talk to somebody. There's a lot of FAQs, there's a lot of chat bots, there's a lot of those things. And even some groups that have phone numbers, when it gets crazy, they're not going to answer. It's proven. And they're going to put you on schedule and appointment options, which are 2 to 3 weeks layout. So That's a big thing what we try to focus on is what we call our instant customer phone support. Especially when it comes to retirement and crypto asset investing, it's critical to have a human being there for you. What made us do this? That's kind of like the second question is how'd you do it and then why'd you do it, right? What made us do this was we recognized, I know myself personally recognized early on that there's a struggle for retirement in this country today. And so our main mission is to help Americans retire and hopefully help them retire earlier. There is a retirement crisis happening today. It may not be the pandemic we see on the news every day like COVID, but there is an underlying pandemic happening that's been happening since I was a kid. I remember when I was young, there were friends of mine that had grandparents working into their 70s, late 70s, early 80s, because they had to. Not because they wanted to, but because they had to. They hadn't been able to grow up enough value in their retirement to be able to comfortably rest for those final years. And then I started watching with my own parents that they were planning on having to work even later years. We're living longer, we're working longer, and we're not saving much. And some of it's to our own chagrin, but some of it's also that we're in an economic system, especially our generation, I'm 36, that has basically not seen much greatness since we were born. It was Born in the USA with Bruce Springsteen. It was awesome. It was the 80s. We weren't old enough to enjoy the high 90s, and it's been kind of rough ever since. And so when you look at that and you see that 64%, I think Yahoo Finance had in February, article about that, are not ready for retirement, and it's getting worse every year. Imagine those that are still suffering and making their way through on stimulus or unemployment, and they're getting into their 30s. What are they going to do to catch up? And what we have next macroeconomically is there will be an era of inflation that we will all remember at some point, and we'll tell stories about. You can't simply print trillions upon trillions of dollars. While you may have to, it does have ramifications. More supply, or what they call M1 supply of currency into the marketplace, is what causes products and goods and services to cost more. It dilutes the purchasing power of the dollars that you've saved. And this is one of the main reasons why folks are looking other directions. We also have something very unique happening. The boomers right now, as you can see in that icon, are holding about $48 trillion worth of personal wealth. And the boomers are getting older, and that will be handed down in one of the largest wealth transfers in history. But what are we going to do with it? There are going to probably be some that just blow it and FOMO and go crazy and pop bottles. And then there's going to be other prudent and more pragmatic folks that say, hey, maybe I should put some of this into Bitcoin, or at least into a retirement setting, and think outside the box. And thinking outside the box is the new evolution that's happening in today's marketplace. Alternatives. And it's not just crypto. Crypto is the newest, hottest, sexiest, sizzliest. But there has been, beyond stocks, bonds, mutual funds, which some folks call our grandfather's economy, there are things like real estate, private equity, precious metals, and of course, digital currency and Bitcoin. And why you build these into a modern portfolio as opposed to a traditional one is this is your chance to catch up, build up more value, and get yourself exposure to new and emerging places. Back in the 1990s, the first self-directed IRA was created, and it was done by a bunch of rich guys that wanted to use their retirement funds to get access to real estate. They wanted to be able to take that capital they had and buy real estate. Then it manifested itself further into private equity. We've heard a lot of conversations about Peter Thiel and his $2 billion IRA that he has. It's because he placed himself into alternatives like that. And precious metals have been very strong. Although this was the perfect storm for gold, Bitcoin is taking, I think, a little bit of that luster off with its portability and transportability components, where you don't have to ship and store and insure the metals. You can Bitcoin is a lot easier to move around and to function as a means of exchange and as a means of monetary policy. Now, how are fiat, gold, Bitcoin different from each other? There's this really great chart, which I don't think I was able to put it up there, but it basically there's about 15 critical characteristics of what is money. And you look at the US dollar, it's driven by sovereign central governments. We don't know how much is in supply. We don't know how much is being diluted. We're not in control of it. It is an oligarchy, so to speak. The Federal Reserve, I used to have a guy work with me that he always would ask, what do you know about the Federal Reserve? And that's a good question, because since its inception in 1913 with the Treasury, the purchasing power of the US dollar has dissipated 93%, probably maybe even more since the COVID ramp up of stimulus printing. And Bitcoin is different than that, right? It's got a finite characteristic to it. This is a perfect storm and an economic environment to get yourself unhinged from dollar denominated assets like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and put yourself into real tangible assets like real estate, cryptocurrency, in wallet, etc. So you take this and you're like, okay, I get Bitcoin. I'm sure everybody here has been listening to some of these amazing speeches and amazing presentations the last day and a half. Yeah, I'm down on crypto. I love crypto. Let's do crypto. But why would I put it in my IRA? Taxes, taxes, taxes. It's that simple. Right now, the average capital gains rate is 23.8%. So if you went over to Coinbase or to any other open exchange and you bought Bitcoin and you have to sell it at a gain, you're going to get eaten by almost 23, 24% of those gains. That is estimated to grow under our current administration and beyond to pay for what's happening as far as the printing of dollars to stimulate the economy up to 43, maybe 44%. So now every dollar you make, imagine half of it's going away in a non-IRA setting. Once you put yourself inside of this beautiful umbrella of an IRA, we use a self-directed IRA that has Roths, simples, traditionals, and SEPs, as well as other kind of lesser known options. You're now in either a tax-free or a tax-deferred setting. Tax-free is the best example is a Roth. You put $5,000 into a Roth, and 10 years from now, it's worth $5 million because you bought all Bitcoin and you just sat it and let it grow. Maybe used our interest program to see it grow even further and expedite it. And now when you take that out at that ripe age of 59 and a half, you're going to have no taxes on taking that income in. If you're tax deferred, which is a traditional setting where you're getting the benefit of taking the money away early, then you're going to have your ordinary income taxes on it. But you're not going to have capital gains. It's just whatever your ordinary income is. And a lot of folks wait till they're later in life when they're not making a lot of money to take these monies out so that they aren't at a very high tax bracket. Crypto, since 2015, when we started it, is becoming a part of this retirement planning for that reason. And it's a trend that I think is going to continue to grow. You can see from the icons there's $90 trillion in the global equity markets. 12.6 trillion is inside of traditional IRAs. And right now there's about 362 billion that are in some version of a crypto IRA out there. Lots of room for growth. And if those folks start opening their eyes to it, you're going to see some significant increases in price that we already are anticipating with Bitcoin and other digital currencies. I was just on CNBC Power Lunch. That's a great photo, right? The marketing team really loves me. They choose the best snips. But why is it here to stay? I make no mistake about it. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, digital assets are here to stay. 5 years ago, there would never even been a virtual conference like this or a festival by Benzinga. And now it's not just for the young investors anymore. Everybody kind of assumes it's millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Xs that are doing this. No, 3 out of 4, 75% of our account holders were born before 1976. And I know that seems, that makes them like 45 plus, but before 1976 seems like a long time ago. There's also a wide range of governments, major corporations, and millions of investors like you that are simultaneously looking at this, which is embedding crypto into the fabric of our economy. And it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And we're being here at conferences like this is a smart move to get yourself educated. Again, like I said, if you download, grab that QR code, you can download our app. All kinds of amazing information there to get yourself up to speed and a human being you can talk to in 90 seconds or less. And I think with that, I see Justin jumped on here.
Yes.
Let's open it up to some questions. How's that sound, pal?
To physically represent that it's question time. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for presenting all that information. I just wanted to start out with a few basic questions. What types of IRAs are you finding are most popular with your users?
Traditionals are the largest chunk because that's what most folks have. A traditional IRA usually comes from a rollover of an old 401k. So when you're working at a job, you're growing, your company's matching, you're getting this 401k. When you leave that job, you normally rolled over into a traditional IRA. The second most popular are Roth IRAs. And those are the ones that have that tax-free setting. And there's a lot of opportunities to do what's called a Roth conversion. You'll have to check with the tax advisor to make sure you're eligible for it, but you can take traditional funds and convert them over into Roth funds. You do have to pay the taxes now, but a lot of folks are doing that in order to not have to pay larger taxes in the future.
And is that primarily what people are new entrants into the space are getting into IRAs for? They're looking for like tax shelters, but within a crypto setting?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the accounts holders that we have are opening their first retirement account. They're doing that annual contribution. And where else would they look to put it? You know, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, not as sexy and sizzly as what they used to be. And the younger generation is starting to step up and say, it's time for me to think about my future. And Bitcoin makes sense for it.
I mean, definitely, we've seen kind of a groundswell of more involved retail investors, certainly from like from Gen Z and from millennials. I mean, like obviously they're going to start way earlier than my generation ever started in terms of all kinds of investing, including crypto. But you had mentioned this is something that older Americans are getting into in order to be able to retire faster or retire more securely. You know, how much activity have you seen around that? What do you think they're primarily like? How is that? Who's your best user in that particular case?
The average demographic is, like I said, 75% are over the age of 45. There's a catch-up component. They're looking at, hey, you know, I'm getting old and it's not growing as fast as I planned on it growing. And they've also endured to the stock bubble in 2000, the 90s .com crash, and the 2008 crash. So it's very hard to continue to have to start back 30, 40% backwards. So they're having to do that. And they're looking at crypto. Obviously, they see the gains. It's outperformed the S&P 500 and everything else is the best performing asset class for 5 years running. That's a big part. But also, inflation is a real conversation. You know, it used to be one of those things that people would say, oh, yeah, inflation. Oh, yeah. You must be a gold bug. You think that inflation's coming the end of the woods. But now they feel it. You go to Target to get one thing, you end up forgetting that one thing and walking out with $200 of stuff you don't need. And inflation is real. It's in front of us. And there's a lot of conversations about it. Those are the two driving factors the most, I think.
Right. You know, and Americans don't save statistically. So maybe, you know, all this talk of passive income and investing is a way to make up for that shortcoming, which has been the truth for decades. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Chris. I really appreciate it. We're going to have to move on to the next session. But thank you very much. And of course, your URL is up on the screen, and we appreciate you taking the time to share with us.
Thanks for having me. I love the Benzinga audience. Enjoy the rest of the festival, guys. It's great.
Thank you. We love them too. All right. Well, we will talk to you soon.